I was 14 years old when my parents told me to leave. Not because I had committed a crime. Not because I had hurt anyone. Their new life simply didn't have room for me. I still remember standing in the hallway with a small backpack while my father avoided looking into my eyes. My mother folded her arms and sighed as though I were an inconvenience rather than her son. "You'll be better off somewhere else," she said. Those words echoed in my mind long after the front door closed behind me. For weeks, I slept wherever I could. Sometimes on a friend's couch. Sometimes in a church shelter. Other nights I sat awake in bus stations, pretending I was waiting for someone. The hardest part wasn't being hungry. It was wondering why my own parents didn't want me. School became almost impossible. I hid my situation from teachers because I was ashamed. I smiled when classmates asked where I lived, making up stories about moving between relatives. One afternoon my math teacher, Mrs. Carter, noticed I kept falling asleep during class. Instead of scolding me, she quietly asked, "Is everything all right?" For the first time, I told someone the truth. She listened without interrupting. That conversation changed my life. Mrs. Carter contacted social services, and within days I was placed with a foster family named the Thompsons. They weren't rich. Their house was old, the furniture mismatched, and dinner often consisted of simple meals. But every night Mr. Thompson asked, "How was your day?" Mrs. Thompson always packed an extra sandwich in my lunch because she worried I might still be hungry. No one had ever worried about me before. Slowly, I learned what a real family looked like. They celebrated birthdays. They laughed over burnt pancakes. They apologized when they made mistakes. It felt strange at first. Then it felt like home. I worked hard in school because I never wanted to lose that second chance. When graduation came, Mrs. Thompson cried louder than anyone else in the audience. Mr. Thompson hugged me and whispered, "We're proud of you, son." Son, one simple word healed a wound that had been open for years. I earned a scholarship to college and studied engineering. Money was always tight. I worked evenings delivering pizzas, cleaned classrooms on weekends, and spent countless nights studying until sunrise. There were moments I wanted to quit. Whenever I felt exhausted, I remembered 14-year-old me sitting alone on a bus station bench. I promised that frightened boy life would get better. And eventually, it did. After graduation, I joined a construction company. I learned everything I could. 5 years later, I started my own business. The first year was terrifying. Some months I barely paid the bills. But honest work builds trust. Clients recommended me to friends. Projects became larger. Employees joined my team. One company turned into 3. By the time I turned 30, I owned a successful construction business, employed over 100 people, and had recently moved into the home I had dreamed about since childhood. It wasn't a mansion built to impress others. It was simply peaceful. Every room reminded me how far I'd come. Mrs. and Mr. Thompson visited every Sunday. They insisted on bringing homemade pie even though I always cooked enough food. Those afternoons were my favorite part of the week. One rainy evening, 16 years after my parents had abandoned me, my doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting visitors. When I opened the door, 2 older strangers stood quietly on the porch. It took several seconds before I recognized them. My mother, my father. Time had changed their faces. Gray hair, tired eyes, wrinkled skin, but I knew them immediately. Neither spoke at first. Finally, my father cleared his throat. Can we come in?" Every painful memory rushed back at once. The backpack, the cold hallway, the locked door, the lonely nights. For a moment, 14-year-old me wanted to slam the door shut. Instead, 30-year-old me stepped aside. "Come in." They entered awkwardly, staring around the house. My mother looked at family photographs hanging on the wall. Pictures of me with the Thompsons. College graduation, company celebrations, holiday dinners. She quietly asked, "Who are they?" "My family," I answered. Silence filled the room. I offered them tea. No one touched it. Eventually my father spoke. "We've had difficult years." I nodded but said nothing. "Our business failed." Again, silence. "We lost the house." I listened. "Your mother has health problems." Still I remained quiet. Finally he looked directly at me. "We need help." There it was. Not, "We're sorry." Not, "We missed you." Not, "Can we make things right?" They needed something. Money. My mother began crying. We didn't know where else to go. I felt sadness. Not because they were struggling. Because after 16 years, they still didn't understand what they had truly taken from me. I gently asked one question. When was my birthday? Neither answered. When did I graduate high school? Silence. What degree did I earn? Nothing. I smiled sadly. You don't know anything about my life. Tears rolled down my mother's face. I suppose we don't. No, I replied softly. You don't. They finally apologized. Their words sounded sincere, but apologies cannot erase years of absence. They cannot replace birthdays, graduations, Christmas mornings, hospital visits, late-night conversations, a childhood. My father lowered his head. We were selfish. Yes, I answered honestly. We thought you'd be fine. I wasn't. Another long silence settled between us. Finally I stood and walked to my office. Inside my desk was a folder containing emergency cash I kept for employees facing difficult situations. I returned carrying an envelope. I placed it on the table. There is enough here to help you rent a small apartment and cover several months of expenses. My father stared at it in disbelief. My mother whispered, "You're giving us this?" Yes. After everything. I nodded. Not because you earned it. Then why? Because someone once showed kindness to a scared 14-year-old boy who had nothing. I looked toward the photographs of the Thompsons. They taught me generosity. My parents cried openly. I wasn't angry anymore. But forgiveness doesn't always mean rebuilding what was broken. My father quietly asked, "Can we be a family again?" I took a long breath before answering. "I forgive you." Hope appeared on their faces. But forgiveness isn't the same as trust. Their smiles faded. I spent 16 years building a life surrounded by people who chose me every single day. I pointed toward the family photographs. They are my family. My mother nodded through tears. I understand. I truly hope your lives improve, I continued. And if you genuinely want a relationship, it won't happen overnight. It starts with honesty, patience, and accepting that we can't pretend the past never happened. For the first time that evening, they seemed to understand. When they left, my father stopped on the porch. "I'm proud of the man you've become." I smiled politely. I became this man because other people believed in me. After they drove away, I called the Thompsons. "Mrs. Thompson," answered immediately. "Everything all right, sweetheart?" Those simple words nearly made me cry. "Yeah," I whispered. I just wanted to hear my mom's voice. She laughed softly. "You can call anytime." That night I realized something important. Family isn't defined by blood. It's defined by love, by showing up, by staying when life gets difficult, by choosing one another again and again. The people who abandoned me gave me life. But the people who stood beside me taught me how to live. And in the end, that made all the difference.